tree chews your soul, feeds on muted cries. Flames lick the marrow bare, shadows gorge on fear. Step inside this festering pit, there ain't no leaving here. Strap your mask, it won't save you from the reek. Guns jam with rot, your screams grow weak. From mariner's box to tech-port splintered piers, the Deadlands flay you strip by strip, bathe in outlaw tears. Embers choke on blood and grime, the ramble's yours to roam. Die slow in this steaming grave, welcome home. Like in sun, I'll show you round.
Greetings YouTube, and welcome back to the next chapters of Deadlands Between Cities. Like, sub, bell, all that good stuff. Right. Let's jump in. Where were we? Chapter 2, Echoes in the Ruins. The air thickened as rain pressed deeper into the ruins, the dust giving way to a damp, fungal reek that clawed at his lungs even through the mask, still better than inhaling spores. The runner pack was dead, their bodies already sinking into the cracked earth, but something nagged at him, a prickle along his spine, sharper than the usual Deadlands unease. He'd lived out here too long to ignore it. His blue eyes flicked across the shadowed sprawl, crumbling towers with Art Deco facades peeling like flayed skin, medieval stone walls webbed with rusted steam pipes, and a forest of twisted rebar poking through the sand. The place was a mausoleum, and he was its gravedigger. He slung his rifle off his shoulder, thumbing the scope's adjustment wheel with a faint click. The pack had been moving with purpose, herding those shufflers somewhere specific. Rain crouched, tracing a claw mark gouged into a slab of concrete, too deep for a runner, too deliberate. His lips thinned beneath the mask. Specialized bastard, he muttered, the words half lost in the wind. He'd heard whispers at Gravewatch, Magnus Ironclaw ranting about a potential rare breed stalking the trade routes. Rain hadn't bought it then. Now, he wasn't so sure. A faint screech pierced the silence, high and jagged like a child's cry twisted through a broken windpipe. Rain froze, his grip tightening on the rifle. Howler. Rare as hell in his region, and a pain in the arse. The sound came again, echoing off the ruins, impossible to pin down. He straightened, slinging the rifle back and drawing his coppice instead. Pistol shots were too loud for this. A nest was close, and he'd be damned if he brought the whole fungal circus crashing down on him. The trail led him to a hulking structure, an old factory, its Gothic arches sagging under the weight of industrial smokestacks long gone cold. The windows were shattered, jagged teeth framing a maw of darkness. Fungal tendrils snaked up the walls, pulsing faintly, their spores drifting like ash in the dying light. Rain adjusted his goggles, the lenses whirring as they sharpened the gloom. His crank flashlight clicked on, strapped to his tactical rigging, casting a narrow beam across the threshold. The air inside was wet, heavy with the stench of rot and something sweeter, decay turning to mulch. He stepped in, boots sinking slightly into a carpet of fungal growth. The beam swept over rusted machinery, gears and pistons frozen mid-turn, a steampunk relic of a world that didn't survive. Shuffler corpses littered the floor, slumped against walls or tangled in the fungal webbing, their bodies bloated with parasitic growth. Slumpers, probably. Zombies too far gone to move properly, the ones who never made it to runner. Just sacks of fungus waiting to burst. Rain kept his distance, his coppice raised. One wrong step and he'd be breathing spores thick enough to turn his brain to mush, overwhelming his mask. The howler's cry rang out again, closer now, bouncing off the high ceiling. Rain's beam caught movement, a small, scrawny figure scuttling across a catwalk overhead. Pale skin stretched tight over bones, fungal veins glowing faintly beneath it. Its head snapped toward him, mouth gaping in a scream that rattled his teeth. The sound was a beacon, and he knew what came next. Shuffling footsteps echoed from the shadows. Slow, wet, relentless. Bloody brilliant. Rain growled, spinning as 3 shufflers lurched from a side corridor. His kukri flashed, slicing through the first one's neck, the head rolling with a sickening plop. The second caught his pauldron with clawing hands, and he rammed the kopis hilt first into its chest, cracking ribs before slashing its throat. The third stumbled over a pipe, and he buried the blade in its skull, fungal gore splattering his gloves. Above, the howler screeched again, darting out of sight. Rain wiped his blade on his coat, breathing hard. At least there wasn't goblins and runners, he thought. The nest was alive now. Shufflers groaning in the dark, their numbers swelling. He needed out, but not before he saw it. That prickle hadn't faded. He edged deeper, flashlight cutting through the murk, until he reached a loading bay. The air here was suffocating. Spores so dense his mask's filter whined in protest. Fungal walls pulsed, veins of glowing green threading through the rot. And there, in the center, a shadow loomed. It wasn't a shuffler, not a runner either. Taller, broader, its silhouette humanoid, but wrong. Arms too long, one ending in a jagged claw that gleamed like bone. Fungal tendrils writhed from its back, coiling like a predator's tail. It turned, and Rain's beam caught its face. Half a gas mask fused to decayed flesh, a tattered trench coat, decayed leather armor, one eye glowing a sickly yellow. It didn't charge, didn't scream. It just watched, head tilting with a childlike curiosity that made his skin crawl. Rain's mind raced. Specialized, smarter than the rest. He'd seen zombified bears before, even a wolves, but this? This was human, once. A soldier or Deadlander, maybe, judging by the mask. His finger hovered over the pistol trigger, but the thing shifted, vanishing into a tunnel of fungal growth before he could fire. The howler's cry faded, and the shufflers went still, as if some unseen signal had calmed them. He backed out, heart pounding beneath his half-plate. The nest was too big, too active, and that thing, whatever it was, knew he was here. Rain holstered his weapons, slipping into the dusk outside. The ruins loomed silent again, but the weight of that yellow eye lingered. He needed a job, supplies, answers. Gravewatch was his next stop. Magnus owed him a drink and a damn good explanation. As he trudged south toward his bunker, the wind carried a faint, bitter thought. Coffee'd be nice right now. Whiskey'd be better. He smirked, but it didn't reach his eyes. The Deadlands were waking up, and he had a feeling the hunt was just beginning. Chapter 3, Gravewatch. Bargain. The trek to Gravewatch took Rain through a stretch of Deadlands that smelled like rust and despair. The desert sands gave way to rocky desert and a jagged ridge of ruined suburbs, half-timbered houses sagging beneath industrial smokestacks, their Art Deco flourishes smeared with fungal grime. His boots crunched over shattered glass and rodent bones, one of the only things immune to the parasite chewing through this world. The sun was a fading bruise on the horizon by the time the outpost's walls loomed into view, towering slabs of steel and stone, medieval battlements studded with steam-powered rotary turrets hissing faintly in the dusk. Gravewatch wasn't a city, just a scar on the map between cities Valmontane and Calderon. A haven for hunters, traders, and fools too stubborn to die. Its gates creaked open as Rain approached, his trench coat flapping in the wind, pauldrons glinting dully under the outpost's flickering gas lamps. A guard in patchwork armor, an ugly mix of chainmail and welded plating, nodded him through, recognizing the dust wolf by the wolf motif on his pauldrons and the blood-streaked coppice sheathed on his back. Inside, the outpost buzzed with the kind of life that thrived on desperation. Stalls lined the dirt-packed streets, hawkers shouting over the clatter of steam carts. Fresh rat skewers, 2 bullets apiece. Ammo clips, forged in Eisenkrone. Don't jam like that Dunmere shit. Buildings leaned together like drunkards. Gothic arches propping up rusted iron roofs, their windows glowing with the dim orange of oil lanterns. A brothel sign swung lazily, its faded letters promising warmth and company for a handful of bullets. Rain's lip twitched. Tempting, but he had business first. He made for the central keep, a squat fortress of stone and steel that doubled as Gravewatch's graveworker's post. The door groaned as he shoved it open. stepping into a haze of cigar smoke and the tang of spilled ale. Hunters lounged at mismatched tables, some medieval trestles, others dented metal slabs, swapping tales of shuffler kills and runner chases. A few eyed Rain warily. His reputation cut both ways out here. Magnus Ironclaw held court at the back, sprawled in a chair that looked like it had been ripped from a steamship's bridge. He was a bear of a man, pushing 50, with a grizzled beard and a face carved from hard years. His right hand, his namesake, was a mechanical monstrosity, a clawed prosthetic of brass and iron, pistons clicking as he flexed it, the little boiler humming. More show than functionality, but it was fine show. His armor was a patchwork of steel plates and leather, medieval in shape but riveted with industrial precision, and a massive axe rested against his thigh, its blade notched from countless hunts. A Deadlander like Rain, but one who'd traded solitude for a petty fiefdom for his retirement. Well, if it ain't the legendary Dust Wolf, Magnus rumbled, his voice like gravel under boots. He waved off a wiry hunter mid-story, some poor sod named Piers, who slunk away muttering, "Thought you'd be neck-deep in a nest by now, not gracing my doorstep." Rain pulled off his mask, letting it dangle from his neck, and scratched his beard. "Ran into something uglier than your mug out there," he said, dropping into a chair across from Magnus. "Specialized. Big, smart, wearing half a gas mask like it's still got a face worth saving. You know anything about it?" Magnus's good eye narrowed, the other hidden under a scarred lid. He took a drag on his cigar, exhaling a plume that curled around the steam pipes overhead. "Heard rumors. Caravans going quiet between here and Valmontane. Thought it was runners till a scout came back babbling about a thing with a huge claw and a soldier's stance. Didn't believe him. Should have known you'd sniff it out." "Sniffed it, saw it, didn't kill it. Needs a bounty," Rain said, leaning back. His fingers drummed on the table, itching for a cup of coffee. He knew this dump wouldn't have. Nest was too hot to push solo. "Figured you'd pay to see it dead." Magnus barked a laugh, the claw clicking as he tapped the table. "Straight to business, eh? Fine. 50 bullets, 10 ration tins, and a bottle of my private stock. Whiskey, not that swill they peddle out front. Bring me its head, Wolf, and it's yours." Rain's brow arched. 60 bullets, 15 tins, and 2 bottles. It's smarter than your average runner, and I'm not dying for your cheap ass." "Cheeky bastard," Magnus growled, but a grin split his face. "Done. But you're on your own. My crew's tied up clearing shufflers and a nest off the Ashen Reach Road. Don't come crying if it guts you." "Crying's your style, Claw," Rain shot back, standing. "I'll be back with its skull by week's end. Keep the whiskey warm." Magnus chuckled, waving him off. Rain adjusted his goggles and stepped back into the night, the outpost's clamor fading behind him. The job was set, but that yellow eye still gnawed at him, watching, waiting. His bunker was a half-day's hike, and he'd ride the steam cycle back tomorrow, noise be damned. For now, he slipped into the shadows, tracing the ridge toward home. He didn't hear the faint rustle behind him. Not yet. Didn't see the skittish figure darting through the ruins, chased by snarls and snapping jaws. But the Deadlands had a way of throwing curveballs, and Rain Dustwolf was about to catch one whether he liked it or not. That's it for now, pups. Like sub bell, you know how it works. See you all for the next chapters. Bye bye.